Yo, Latter-day Saints, or Mormons.
I hear you. What is wanted?
How we doing? We still going to church?
I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. But as far as going to church is concerned, well, I still show up for the occasional ward basketball game and some of the socials, and if I'm feeling adventurous, a talent show. But if you mean attending church to receive the further light and knowledge that the Father promised to send but never did because he's not real, absolutely not. I've spent enough Sundays pretending that recycled talks and vague spiritual platitudes count as divine revelation, and I'm simply not going to sit through another rambling homophobic talk about how God made gay people only so that he could send them to hell.
Maybe not? You have some questions in your head about the church? That's okay.
Oh, I've got plenty of questions, my friend, but they're not the cutesy, I wonder when we're going to see another miracle kind. They're like, why did the church hide its own unflattering history for decades kind of questions. And my questions really get to the foundation of the church's truth claims, and they're not just merely in my head. The CES letter and other sources have compiled many of these questions, and spoiler alert, the church has yet to provide good answers. And I'm going to go out here on a limb and say that you don't have any good answers to them either.
I'm proud of you for being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It ain't easy.
I mean, technically, I'm still a member of the church, much like the other 14 million ghost members who are still on the rolls, because the church likes to make it kind of tricky to get your name taken off of the records. And yeah, I get it, being LDS isn't easy these days. It's not easy telling LGBTQ people in 2025 that they're an abomination, unless they live a lonely, celibate life. It's not easy trying to justify why the church doesn't run $20 background checks for its clergy, even after tens of thousands of abuse scandals in the church. And it's not easy trying to justify in your mind why an institution that's worth over $300 billion gives away mere pennies in proportion to its total wealth. Yeah, being a Mormon ain't easy, especially when you start thinking critically.
Look at this world we're living in right now.
The world is indeed a mess, but here's the thing, so is the Mormon church. If you believe in a God who once empowered prophets to part seas and call down fire from heaven, why is his modern prophet just sitting in a luxury office, refusing to take a stand on major global issues? Why is this supposed mouthpiece of Jehovah more interested in real estate deals than in solving world hunger? If anything, the church is really more of a contributor to the world's messy situation by emphasizing ridiculous rules like avoiding drinking coffee, rather than actively engaging with solving the world's pressing needs. Listen to me, I've looked at the world, and I wonder why Mormon Incorporated doesn't seem to care much about it.
I am so hyped and excited whenever I meet a member of my church.
Well, I can definitely understand why. Disaffiliation is skyrocketing, and it's getting rarer and rarer to meet a fully committed Latter-day Saint. I mean, even in Utah, church membership rates are plummeting. The church is bleeding members so quickly that even the church's own internal reports show that retention is a huge problem. If I were still part of a group that was becoming increasingly obsolete, I guess I'd also still be excited to find people who are still willing to stick around. As the laughable nonsense of Mormonism is debunked in podcast after podcast, people who are still willing to buy what the church is selling are becoming increasingly rare. So I can definitely see why you'd be hyped to meet another Kool-Aid drinker.
We share the same beliefs. We're on the same team.
See, folks, that right there is the problem with organized religion. It creates artificial teams that divide people instead of bringing us together. And as Elder TikTok here is on Team Jesus, that means that everyone else must be on Team Satan, right? That's the kind of tribalism that fuels intolerance. Your team is the wheat, and everyone else is just a tare ready to be burned alive by Mormon Jesus during the second coming. Your team is the blessed sheep, and everyone else are just satanic goats. This is a perfect example of religious superiority complex.
I love meeting other members with their own stories and their own personalities and their own testimonies.
Sure, testimonies can be interesting, but let's be honest, most of them follow a very predictable script. I didn't know if the church was true. I read the Book of Mormon, I had a warm feeling, and now I know that it's true. Listen to me, that's not unique, that's just emotional conditioning. You don't see a lot of testimonies that go, I asked for confirmation and nothing happened, so I left. Because those people are too busy enjoying their lives outside the church to keep repeating canned faith-promoting stories. And as far as people having their own personalities, well, most of the top Mormon church leadership are white, male, blood-sucking lawyers and greedy businessmen with wooden personalities and authoritarian God complexes.
I want you to know that Jesus Christ is hella proud of you.
How exactly do you know that? Did he tell you personally? Because that would be the first verifiable revelation in church history. Just be honest with us for once. You don't know what Jesus feels or thinks. I mean, heck, you don't even know if Jesus existed in the same way that the church teaches. You just take all of this stuff on faith. Yet here you are, asserting Jesus' approval like you've got him on speed dial. When you present personal assumptions like they're divine truth, that's not an inspired testimony. That's just misinformation.
He is, and you are in the right church.
Again, where's the evidence for this? If the LDS Church is the right church, why do its harmful doctrines, whitewashed history, and regressive policies contradict themselves so often? Like, why did it take until 1978 for the church to stop being racist? Why does it hoard so much wealth internally for itself while its members struggle financially? And why does the truth keep changing along with social pressures? Why can't the right church get things right?
And you're doing enough. Like I said, bro, it doesn't matter where you are in your testimony right now. As long as you're striving.
If the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints actually believe that, then it wouldn't constantly move the goalposts. One day striving is enough. The next day it's striving plus paying your tithing. Then it's striving, paying tithing, but never question church leaders. Then it's striving, paying tithing, never questioning church leaders, and serving a mission. The truth is the church demands more and more and more of every member. And the church will never be satisfied until you give absolutely everything that you have to it. All of your time, all of your treasure, all of your thoughts with unquestioning obedience. That's the very definition of a high-demand religion, or what some people would call the C word.
That's all Jesus Christ cares about, man.
Again, how do you know this? Did Jesus pass you a note in seminary? Did he text you? Or are you just assuming that whatever makes you feel good is what Jesus cares about? Folks, that's the problem with this kind of unverified spiritual guidance. It's completely unverifiable and based entirely on personal interpretation.
Oh man, do I want to serve a mission?
Absolutely not. Been there, done that. And I'm still trying to deal with the brainwashing from the Missionary Training Center. Missions aren't about spreading the truth. They're about recruiting new tithe payers. Daddy needs a new mall. And it's not going to finance itself, is it? Mormon missions are a glorified sales job where you have to push a product with a deeply flawed history and zero verifiable evidence. And the best part of all of it is that you have to pay for the privilege of doing it.
Do I get married to this person?
Like, are you asking me, or is this your own internal monologue spilling into the video? Either way, the church has a troubling history of pushing young persons into marriage too early. I wouldn't be surprised if you felt pressured to say yes before actually considering if the person is a good match outside of just being a worthy member. And let's not forget that Joseph Smith married Helen Mark Kimball when she was 14. So since you're cool with that kind of sick arrangement, I don't think anyone should be taking marriage advice from you, if you know what I mean.
Did Joseph Smith really see God the Father in Jesus Christ?
Well, that depends. Are we talking about the 1832 version, the 1835 version, or the official 1838 version, or one of the other conflicting accounts? The fact that Joseph Smith's first vision tale became more fantastical over time, getting more grandiose with each telling, makes it highly suspect. Listen to me, if somebody told you a story about how they met God, and every time that they told it, it got more and more grandiose, would you actually believe them? Probably not.
It's okay to have questions.
But if you question the church publicly, then they're going to excommunicate you faster than you can say Mormon leaks. The church loves to say that it's okay if you have questions, but what it really means is this. You can ask questions as long as you accept our pre-approved, carefully curated, apologetic answers without pushing back too hard. If you start questioning the church's policies or doctrines, like, I don't know, why Joseph Smith married 14-year-old girls, or why the Book of Mormon reads a lot more like a 19th century Protestant text than an ancient Semitic collection of writings, suddenly your questions are just a little less okay. So yeah, it's okay to have questions as long as you don't expect honest answers.
Question your faith. Put your faith to the test, or else how is it going to grow?
First of all, faith is a spectacularly unreliable pathway to truth. If faith were a reliable method for determining what is real, then every religion on earth would be equally valid, because most believers just take their religious claims on faith. So let's not pretend that faith in Mormonism is somehow testable. I mean, if I take it on faith that Joseph Smith had a theophany, that's not a falsifiable claim. And if I take it on faith that if I do a bunch of warmed over Masonic rituals inside of a multi-million-dollar esoteric castle that I will be with my family forever in an afterlife? Again, that's not testable. Faith is simply believing things that you want to be true without any evidence whatsoever. And the second that you actually test your faith, like say looking at the overwhelming evidence against the Book of Mormon's historicity, testimonies start to crack. That's why the church discourages its members from reading anti-Mormon literature, which, let's be honest, are just inconvenient church history facts that they don't want you to know.
I love being a Latter-day Saint. The knowledge that I found in this church, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Well, that's sweet and all, but let's get a little bit real. You haven't actually shared any knowledge in this video. So far, all you've done is appeal to vague feelings, faith, and emotional appeals. You haven't given a single piece of actual knowledge that could be verified outside of your own personal anecdotes. So what knowledge are you actually referring to here? Are we talking about the knowledge that the Book of Mormon is true, when all available evidence is to the contrary? Or are you talking about the church's knowledge that Joseph Smith somehow translated the Book of Abraham papyri, even though even LDS apologists agree that it is nothing but gibberish and speculation? If you really had unique divine knowledge, it would be testable and verifiable, not just a warm, fuzzy feeling when you sing praise to the man.
This is the doctrine, and this is the stuff that money cannot buy.
It's hilarious that you're saying that as you stand in front of a multi-million-dollar esoteric castle that was, in fact, built with money and costs around $30 million. That's a lot of money. I mean, the Mormon Church has more financial resources than many small countries, and yet it gives away a microscopic fraction of its wealth to charity while continuing to hoard hundreds of billions of dollars in investments. Money can't buy this stuff? Well, it did buy all of those church real estate developments. You know, the multi-billion-dollar City Creek Mall development, or the Polynesian Cultural Center, which, by the way, conveniently exploits unpaid missionary labor. And money certainly funded the Ensign Peak scam. If anything, Mormonism is the epitome of a pay-to-play system. Except for in this case, you're paying 10% of your income for life for the privilege of being told that you're not doing enough.
Just wanted to check in on my fellow Latter-day Saints, make sure we're doing okay. I'm proud of you.
You proud of me? I appreciate that. You know, I was thinking about stopping doing this channel, but after I watched your video and you told me how much that you cared about me, I think I'm going to continue on. So I do appreciate you, bro. But if you really cared about me, can you at least like and subscribe? Maybe drop me a quick Venmo so I could be reimbursed for all that tithing that I wasted. Jesus would be proud of you if you did that. But seriously, if you want to check in on the members, how about you check in on those who left because they were lied to by the church for so many generations? How about you check in on those gay members who were told that they were broken? How about checking in on the women who have been told that their worth is tied to their husband and their kids? Those people need support a hell of a lot more than the ones who are still comfortably sitting in the church pews every Sunday.
Everybody's effort is different, but the Lord loves it regardless.
Wait a minute. Everyone's effort is different, but the Lord loves us all? Looks like you haven't gotten the memo. President Nelson in particular has preached a conditional love of God, a God who doesn't love everyone regardless, but a despot who loves people who feed his clandestine hedge fund more than those who don't. He apparently loves temple goers more than coffee drinkers, and he loves the straight cisgender members of the church more than the gay ones. The church explicitly teaches that there's a hierarchy of worthiness, and unless you check all of the right boxes, you're not getting that top-tier celestial love. So let's not pretend that Mormonism is all about unconditional acceptance, because it's clearly not.
If you haven't been to church in a while, it's okay. Try it out one week. Remember what it's like.
Oh, I remember exactly what it's like. It's 3 straight hours, or I guess 2 now, of pure boredom, painfully bad music, forced small talk, and the same recycled talks about how you need to read your scriptures, pay your tithing, and obey the prophet. It's sitting through mind-numbing fast and testimony meetings where a brother or sister oversharer cries about how their garden hasn't been blessed enough, even though they're paying a full tithing. I don't need to hear another lesson about how women should stay at home with the kids while the menfolk go out and get jobs. I remember what going to church is like, and I don't need to hear a talk about how you need to doubt your doubts before you doubt your faith. Yeah, I remember exactly what it's like. So no, I don't need to sit through another Sunday of spiritual Stockholm syndrome to confirm what I already know.
If you go to church every week, you're the man, or you're the woman.
Ah, yes, the old spiritual gold star system. You're a better person if you attend church regularly, regardless of whether you're actually a kind, decent human being. It's funny how that works. And it's funny how many Latter-day Saints actually attend church merely for the stigma of being shamed for not attending or out of fear of divine judgment. But hey, if showing up for another Sunday and listening to another inspired talk about paying tithing makes you the man, well then more power to you, buddy.
Do whatever you need to do to get closer to Christ.
Why on earth would I want to do that? The Jesus of Mormonism is basically the God of the Old Testament, but with better makeup and PR. He's still a demanding authoritarian figure who punishes non-believers and requires strict obedience. If I want to be a good person, I don't need to get closer to a deity with a well-documented history of genocide, slavery endorsement, and threats of eternal punishment. I'd just rather, be a decent human being without the threat of divine retribution hanging over my head.
I promise you, he's your best friend, brother, and more importantly, your savior. He's there for you.
I'm not at all joking when I say that I find this particular sentiment offensive. Listen to me, I have a best friend, and that person actually exists. I can call this person up, have lunch with this person, and get actual verifiable responses when I talk to him or her. Your imaginary absentee best friend is not my best friend. Never has been, never will be. It's bizarre and honestly a little creepy when you tell someone that they have a best friend that they've never met and can't interact with in any meaningful way. And just so we're clear, I'm not broken and I don't need a savior.
You can talk to him about anything, anytime you want. Be proud to be LDS.
Oh, you can talk to imaginary friends all day long. I mean, kids do it all the time. It's the talking back that's the problem here. And as far as being proud to be LDS, well, that's a choice. I choose to be proud of other things that actually deserve pride, like kindness, integrity, and critical thinking, not blind obedience to an institution built on deception.
You are part of the most true church in the world.
Sure, and McDonald's sells the world's most nutritious hamburgers.